By the summer of 1949, the writing was on the wall. Two major basketball leagues could no longer operate in parallel. The BAA's raid of NBL talent the previous year had tilted the competitive balance, and the smaller league's biggest stars now played under the BAA banner. Fan interest and media coverage were consolidating. In August 1949, negotiations between BAA President Maurice Podoloff and NBL officials concluded with a historic agreement. The two leagues would merge into a single entity, adopting a new name, the National Basketball Association. 6 NBL franchises joined the BAA's roster, expanding the new NBA to 17 teams. From the NBL came the Anderson Packers, Sheboygan Redskins, Tri-Cities Blackhawks, Denver Nuggets, not the modern team, Waterloo Hawks, and Syracuse Nationals. The BAA stalwarts like the Lakers, Celtics, Knicks, Warriors, and Capitals were now part of a unified league. This was more than a name change. It was the first time professional basketball in the United States had a single top-tier competition with both big market exposure and deep small-town support. But there was also a problem. 17 teams was an unwieldy number, and some were on shaky financial ground before the season even tipped off. The inaugural NBA season was a logistical puzzle. Teams were grouped into 3 divisions: Eastern, Western, and Central, to ease travel, but scheduling 72 games for each club still meant brutal road trips. Travel was almost entirely by train. Players lugged their gear through snow and rain, slept in cramped berths, and played back-to-backs after overnight hauls. Some arenas still doubled as hockey rinks, with condensation making the hardwood slick. In places like Sheboygan and Waterloo, the gyms were small enough that fans could practically reach out and touch the players. Financial strain was immediate. Some small market teams lacked the gate revenue to compete with New York or Boston. Still, the new league pressed forward, knowing the merger's real value lay in long-term consolidation, not short-term perfection. The league's headliner was still George Mikan of the Minneapolis Lakers. Now with a national platform, Mikan put up astonishing numbers, scoring, rebounding, and blocking shots with a dominance no one could match. His presence guaranteed sellouts in cities that had never before seen a player of his size and skill. Other stars shone in the new NBA spotlight. Joe Fulks, still a scoring wizard for Philadelphia, adapting to defenses increasingly designed to stop him. Bob Davies of the Rochester Royals, a slick passing guard with championship pedigree. Dolph Chase, the Syracuse Nationals' young star, whose all-around game hinted at a future as one of the great forwards. Jim Pollard, the Lakers' Kangaroo Kid, adding speed and athletic flair next to Mikan's power. The infusion of talent from both leagues made the on-court product deeper, faster, and more competitive than ever before. As the season wore on, it became clear the Lakers were still the team to beat. They rolled through the regular season, with Mikan averaging over 27 points per game, a staggering figure in an era without the three-point shot. The Syracuse Nationals emerged as Eastern contenders, and Rochester stayed dangerous in the Central Division. When the playoffs began, the format reflected the league's awkward size. 6 teams advanced, with division winners getting byes. The Nationals, Royals, and Lakers each navigated their brackets with poise. The finals pitted the Lakers against the Nationals, a matchup between Mikan's inside force and Syracuse's balanced attack, led by Chase and veteran Red Rocha. The series was physical, bruising, and tightly contested, but Minneapolis prevailed 4-2, capturing their second straight title. The NBA's first season was a success in name and prestige, but financially it was already clear that contraction was coming. Small market teams like Sheboygan and Waterloo were struggling, and some ownership groups were already looking for buyers or relocation options. Still, the concept of one unified league had taken root. Fans now knew where the best players competed. Newspapers covered the NBA as a legitimate professional sport, and young athletes had a clear path to the top level. For Mikan, lifting the trophy again cemented his status as basketball's first true professional superstar. The face of a league still finding its footing, but destined for growth. The 1950-51 season began with a milestone that would forever change professional basketball. 3 African-American players entered the NBA, breaking its color barrier just 4 years after Jackie Robinson had integrated Major League Baseball. Chuck Cooper was drafted by the Boston Celtics in April 1950, becoming the first black player ever selected in the NBA draft. Nat Sweetwater Clifton signed with the New York Knicks, bringing scoring touch and rebounding muscle from his years with the Harlem Globetrotters. Earl Lloyd debuted for the Washington Capitals on October 31, 1950, making him the first African-American to appear in an NBA game. Their presence was a breakthrough, but the challenges were immediate and real. Segregated hotels, hostile road crowds, and the constant pressure to prove they belonged weighed heavily. Yet each showed poise and professionalism, quickly winning the respect of teammates and opponents alike. They weren't just breaking barriers. They were raising the level of play. The newly integrated NBA was also dealing with major changes in its competitive landscape. The league contracted from 17 to 11 teams due to financial instability, with smaller markets like Sheboygan, Anderson, and Waterloo bowing out. This contraction concentrated talent and made the competition tougher night in and night out. The Minneapolis Lakers, winners of the past 2 championships, were still led by George Mikan, but injuries and fatigue began to slow the big man. Other teams sensed an opening. The Rochester Royals, Fort Wayne Pistons, and New York Knicks all looked capable of challenging the dynasty. In Boston, a young coach named Red Auerbach was beginning to shape the Celtics' identity, focusing on speed and ball movement. Though his team wasn't yet a contender, the seeds of a future powerhouse were being planted. The 1950-51 season saw the Rochester Royals emerge as the league's most balanced team. Led by guard Bob Davies, forward Arnie Risen, and sharpshooter Bobby Wanzer, they could score inside, hit from mid-range, and defend with discipline. The New York Knicks, with Clifton now in the mix, were physical and deep. Harry Gallatin owned the boards, Carl Braun provided scoring punch, and Dick McGuire ran the offense with precision. In an era when most teams leaned on 1 or 2 stars, the Knicks' depth made them dangerous in a playoff series. Philadelphia still had Joe Fulks, but his production was slipping as defenses caught up to his once unorthodox jump shot. The Syracuse Nationals, behind Dolph Chase, remained a steady force in the East. By season's end, the Royals topped the Western Division with a 41-27 record, edging out the Lakers, who finished just 2 games behind. In the East, the Knicks finished first, followed closely by Syracuse. The new tighter league meant no easy nights. Even lower-placed teams could spring an upset. Mikan still led the league in scoring at over 28 points per game, but it was clear the Lakers were no longer invincible. Teams had developed strategies to slow him, often sending double teams and forcing other Lakers to beat them. The postseason opened with the Knicks defeating the Boston Celtics, while Syracuse outlasted the Philadelphia Warriors in a physical series. In the West, the Lakers dispatched the Indianapolis Olympians, but the Royals were too much for Fort Wayne. The division finals set up Knicks versus Nationals in the East and Lakers versus Royals in the West. The Knicks outlasted Syracuse in a grueling series, with Clifton making key plays on the boards. In the West, the Royals shocked the basketball world by beating Minneapolis, denying Mikan a 3rd straight title shot. The finals between the Rochester Royals and New York Knicks were a showcase of disciplined, team-oriented basketball. The series stretched to a full 7 games, with neither team winning more than 2 in a row. In the decisive Game 7, played in Rochester on April 21, 1951, Arnie Risen scored 24 points, and the Royals held off a late Knicks rally to win 79-75. Bob Davies was named Finals MVP in spirit, though the award wouldn't exist officially for decades, and the Royals celebrated their first and only NBA championship. The 1950-51 campaign was a landmark year for reasons far beyond the scoreboard. It marked the beginning of racial integration in professional basketball, a shift that would open the game to countless future stars. It also signaled the end of the Lakers' early stranglehold on the league and proved that balanced, team-oriented play could win championships. For Earl Lloyd, Chuck Cooper, and Nat Clifton, their debuts were more than personal achievements. They were stepping stones for the league's moral and cultural growth. For the Rochester Royals, the title was a crowning moment in franchise history. And for the NBA itself, the season was proof that it could evolve on the court, in the standings, and in the fabric of American sport.